Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our Protiviti webinar, Introduction to Power BI. Just a little bit about Protiviti before we get started. We provide solutions in finance, technology, operations, data analytics, governance, risk, and internal audit. Our full-service software solutions team provides consulting, implementation, and on-demand support for Microsoft Office 365, SharePoint, Salesforce, Nintex, Sitecore, Kentico, SQL, and .NET. Our 30 on Thursday webinar series is a 30-minute webinar series on Thursdays once a month. Our next webinar will be on December 13th, where we will be discussing how to create a custom email with Microsoft Flow. You can register for that webinar and see our full event schedule on our website. Our Protiviti Software Solutions team provides Office 365 on-demand support and training that includes flexible on-demand support, dedicated Office 365 account managers, and access to our 24/7 support portal to submit tickets. Our training team provides private in-person training and online training that is hands-on, lab-based, and fully interactive. If you're interested in learning more about our on-demand support and training, you can visit our website, ecm.protiviti.com. Today's session is being recorded. A link will be sent out to all attendees today. You can also access past webinar recordings on our YouTube channel. For questions during today's presentation, please insert them in the question window of the GoToMeeting toolbar, or you can live tweet us your questions using the hashtag 30TPowerBI. We will be saving all the questions until after the presentation today. Today's presenter is Becca Ratliff from Protiviti. Becca is a member of our on-demand support team and has over 6 years' experience in Microsoft SharePoint, Office 365, and business intelligence. She works with our clients to build dashboards with Power BI and helps organizations better understand their data to ultimately make better business decisions. And I am Julia Marple, and I will be moderating today's session. All right, Becca, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Julia. Hi, I'm Becca. I want to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy schedule to listen to me today. Today we're going to talk about why you would want to use Power BI, highlight the Power BI desktop application, and then focus on a demo. The demo will include connecting to a data source, creating a sample report, the options to share that report, and then we will walk through some modeling and visualizing data. Power BI is a great tool for quick ad hoc analysis as well as more robust custom dashboards. It's extremely user-friendly. If you're familiar with the Microsoft Office suite like Word and Excel, you'll have no problems becoming acquainted with Power BI. It provides non-technical business users with tools such as analyzing and visualizing without needing to have an in-depth technical background. Power BI boasts a full list of available data sources. Not only can you integrate with Microsoft technologies like SQL Server, Access, Excel, and SharePoint, but you can also integrate with data from Salesforce, Dynamics, Facebook, and QuickBooks, just to name a few. To use the free version, you just need to sign up with a work email address. To share and collaborate, you will need a Power BI Pro account, which is $9.99 per user per month. Some key benefits and components of Power BI are: there's a large community to support it where you can leverage pre-built dashboards and reports. It allows you to establish secure live connections to your data sources that are hosted on-prem and in the cloud. This gives you real-time dashboard updates. Because Power BI is a Microsoft product, the integration and similarity to other familiar Microsoft products is already there. It makes it possible to start gaining insights on your data quickly using natural language query. And finally, Power Maps brings data to life with interactive visualizations leveraging BIM. Let's talk a little bit about how some organizations are using Power BI. Our marketing team here at Protiviti is using Power BI by pulling data from Salesforce to measure ROI on marketing activities to determine which events and campaigns to do again next year. One of our clients, an apparel company, is using Power BI to display current sales trends and predict future sales to make buying decisions. We currently have a client interested in using Power BI to monitor the service communications from Office 365. One last example is several organizations use Power BI to pull sales data from Salesforce to report on pipeline revenue, lead generation, and forecasting. Let's talk a little bit about the Power BI desktop application. It's made up of three main components. This middle one here is the data pane. This is where you are defining your query and doing the data extraction. This is also where you can add calculated columns and measures. The bottom one here is the relationships pane. The relationships pane is very similar to something you may have seen if you've used Power Pivot in the past. Use this pane to define relationships between data sets. You can also easily rename or hide columns from this view. The final one is the top one, the reporting pane. The reporting pane is where you create visualizations with your data. While it's important to structure your data and manage the data set's relationships, consumers of the report will only see what is created on this pane. Make sure you're using filters and slicers to take advantage and picking advantage a visualization that best represents your data. From the Power BI desktop application, you have access to all the formatting tools to make an enhanced report. You can add custom visualizations from Marketplace or add ones you've developed yourself. For today's demo, we're going to look at data from a sample apparel company. We're going to review sales revenue, quantity sold by store for their different lines. Let's go ahead and get into the demo. The first step is connecting to the data source. One common data source that most of you will have access to is an Excel file. We can connect to an Excel file hosted on your laptop or, for example, hosted in the SharePoint site. In this example, we will use an Excel file hosted in a SharePoint document library. So the first step would be to get your URL for the hosted Excel file. I'm now in the Power BI desktop application, and under data sources, we're going to click web. We're going to paste in our URL for our Excel file hosted in SharePoint and click OK. Once you click connect, it's going to pull up our two sheets here. So it's pulling up each sheet in the Excel file as a different table. We'll go ahead and bring both of these in. You get a little preview of the data. And we'll go ahead and load this data. Once we load the data, we can start creating a report. Out of the box, Power BI has 25 different visualizations that can be used. Power BI gives you an interactive graphic to let you choose which out-of-the-box visualization you would like. Simply click on the icon for the desired visualization. So you can see the fields that we imported in our Connect data example. And we can actually, as we start clicking it, it will automatically start building a data table in the empty space. So I'll go ahead and do that now and pick category, let's see, quantity sold, sales revenue, discount, and margin. And we'll go ahead and expand that so we can see all of our columns. We can also add a slicer by adding category. So if you notice, I clicked into the white space to add a new one here. And now that I've highlighted this, I will change my visualization to a slicer. If I wanted to add something back to the original one here, I would just click and you'll see that they're all highlighted, and I could go ahead and add another item here. One other thing we can talk about for styling you can see as soon as I clicked category here, it kind of filtered these by my 2-pocket shirts. I can go ahead and make a quick change and switch that to a drop down. We'll go ahead and create one more chart here, which is, we'll do sales revenue by state and lines. And you can see it's already building it as a bar chart, but if I want to do a stacked bar chart, you can see I can easily switch that. And then one other quick formatting thing that you can see is if we go to our formatting tool, we can quickly change the legend position. So we'll go ahead and put that on the right. I'm going to switch over to a more polished version of this report. So you would just continue to build out until you have something that looks kind of like this. The best part about Power BI, I think, is that all the visualizations are interactive. So if I select accessories here, you'll see that kind of dims the rest, as well as shows just the accessories in my quantity sold by colors and in my data table here at the top. I can just click accessories again for it to all come back. You'll also notice I added a map. Power BI Maps is powered by Bing. So as long as you have locational data such as zip code, city, state, longitude, latitude, Bing can chart your data on a map. Now that we have a basic report here, we're going to talk about sharing the report. There's several options. First, you can save locally as a PBIX file. When saving the file, the design data will be stored together. You can send this file to others, but they would just need to have the Power BI desktop application installed. The report would need to be manually refreshed to get the latest information. Another option right here is export to PDF. This is great if you want to create a snapshot in time of the report, or if you want to send the report to someone not using Power BI. The third option we can do from the desktop application is to export the report as a Power BI template. Templates will include the report definition, data model, as well as the theme and color scheme. This is a great way to standardize your Power BI reports across an organization or team. The final option that we're going to talk about today is an important one, which is publishing to Power BI online. So I'll go ahead and walk through that. So you have publish to Power BI. Go ahead and save my changes here. You'll get the option to choose your destination. You'll see teams that you're a part of or use your personal workspace. So I'm going to use my personal workspace here. Once it's published, you'll get a link to view it in the browser. So we'll give it a second and go ahead. And so if we click on my workspace, we'll see that it shows up under reports here, the sales report demo, and you'll see that my data set was added. So as a free user, you'll only be able to see your reports. This is still a good idea to do because it makes your report available to you from any browser. It also stores the report in the cloud in case something would happen to your local copy. As a Power BI Pro user, you can then share access to the report to other Power BI Pro users. Once shared, the Power BI Pro user can view and interact with the report they're granted access to. And then I want to talk about a couple options here when you're in the Power BI online service. The first one I want to mention is this publish to web. So this option makes it publicly accessible to anyone on the internet and should not be used except for specific cases. So one case might be if you're writing like a blog post and you want to show sample or scrub data. Otherwise, you don't want to use any, confidential data because anyone that has access to the link can access your data. And then finally, you do get an option if you're a Power BI Pro user to embed in SharePoint Online. Okay, so now that we've gone through a simple example, let's take a deeper dive into modeling and visualizing data. So we'll go back to my report here. And we're going to go to the data pane. And let's start by adding a new column. So a column will do a one-time calculation and will show static data in the table. To add a new column, make sure that you're on the table that you want to add it to. Click New Column. In this example, we're going to combine data from two other columns, the city and the state column, to get one location column. So I'm going to do that now. And when I hit enter, you'll see my location field is now populated. Next, let's talk about data transformation. When querying the data from sources, there are steps that can be done to transform the data into a better working design. There are many transformations, including changing format, parsing, extracting, rounding, transposing, pivoting, and many more. So to do that, we want to open the Power Query Editor. And so you can do that by Edit Queries. And then on the Transform tab. So one simple example would be to change the data type. If you look at our sales data here, you'll see a SKU number. The SKU number is a number assigned by a company to a product to keep track of it. And if we look currently, the SKU number is categorized as a whole number. This means that Power BI will attempt to sum this data. However, this is really more of a unique identifier. So if we change this to text, that will keep Power BI from trying to sum this data. And you'll notice on the right-hand side here, Power BI keeps track of the steps that we apply to the data set. And we'll go ahead and close and apply. Okay, now back on the reporting tab, we can talk a little bit more about visualizing data. The menus in Power BI are contextual. If you click on a particular visualization, you will get 3 different icons in the visualization pane. The first one here is the field section. The second one, if you click on the paint section, you'll go where you can actually customize the look of your chart. And then the final one is the analytics. Just note the analytics is only available for a few visualizations, and the number and types for all of these depend from visualization to visualization. Let's talk a little bit about report branding. So as I showed before, we can switch this between list and drop down. We can also, if you notice, right now it is set that I can only select one. It's really easy to change this to be multi-select. So if we highlight this here and click on our paintbrush and go to selection controls, by default, the single select is turned on. If we turn that off, you'll be able to do multi-select. You can see I can start adding things here. You can see it grows. Another important piece in visualizing data is the branding. So not only will you want to brand, the report canvas with small things, but you might have specific colors for the data you want to associate, and you can actually assign those colors. So if you click on the chart that you want, and you're on the paintbrush under data colors, you'll see that our dresses has a yellow assigned to it. And you can do any colors you want. You get a full range. Okay. Next, we can talk about show data. So in other business intelligence tools, such as SQL Server Reporting Services or SSRS, to include a drill down into data from that report, you'd have to build it yourself. In Power BI, you can right-click and choose Show Data. You're taken to a sub-report that shows you the same report plus a chart of that data. This is a great option for certain visualizations like the map that may be a little bit more difficult to understand the data. So if I go ahead and click on the map and choose Show Data, you'll see it kind of pulls it out and gives me the data here. I can do the same thing with, let me clear this one. And so I'll get the data by line and by state. However, Power BI also gives you the option to configure a more sophisticated drill down experience, which involves making a hierarchy. To make a hierarchy, simply drag a field on top of another field. And a hierarchy can be beneficial in drilling down. An example would be, year, quarter, month, or in our data, we can make a location hierarchy with state and city. So if I drag city to state, we have a state hierarchy. And now we can replace our state here. Instead of using this one, we can use our state hierarchy. And if we right click, you'll see now there's an option to drill down. And you'll notice that we have these by sales revenue by Houston, Austin, and Dallas instead of by Texas. And I can drill back up and you can see the full option. So just remember that it is contextual, so whichever state that you click on, you'll see the cities associated with that state. Another feature to understand your data is tooltips. Tooltips can be added to a visual and can highlight related data points. Tooltips can only show a single value, so an aggregation may be needed to apply to that tooltip. And you can see right now I have a tooltip up for, it shows me New York, the line is the sweatshirt tees, and then the sales revenue. There's recently released, it was in preview mode, but now it's a full feature. It's advanced tooltips that allow you to show other visuals that are related to the data. So we'll go ahead and show one of those. The first step is to create a new page. And we'll go ahead and rename this page. And then the next step that we want to do is change the page size to be a tooltip. And we'll go ahead and add a chart on here. So if we do sales revenue by color, and then finally, we will want to, back on the page settings, and just make sure if you saw I was on here. And so again, the contextual, you get the difference. If you click outside, we'll get the page information, and then I can enable this tooltip. Now, if I go back to my sales page and click on the one I want to enable it on, down again at the paintbrush, we can scroll down to tooltip. And right now it's set to auto, but I can change it to be my newly created sales revenue page. And once we make this change, we now see our new report. So if we're looking at accessories for California, the sales revenue, we can also see those specific ones broken out by color. So that concludes the demo we had. We go back to the slides here. We'll just talk a little bit about the Power BI roadmap. Microsoft is really investing in capabilities that reduce the time it takes for business analysts working with data to get insights. Business analysts can now transform, integrate, and enrich big data directly in the Power BI web service. One cool thing that I think they're doing is SQL Server Reporting Services, or SSRS, is now part of Power BI. Microsoft's goal is to create a unified, secure, enterprise-wide reporting platform accessible to any user across devices. SSRS will give you that granular reporting, while Power BI gives you the self-service capability. And I will go ahead and turn it over to Julia for any questions.
Thanks, Becca. We got several great questions. So I will ask you to bring up your demo really quick because someone did have a question specifically for that. Someone asked, how did you add the date range?
Sure. I can go ahead and I can actually show you that on this one here. So if you see my sales data and I have a date field, and then I want to go ahead and make that a slicer, and then it kind of, it's that easy, it builds itself. And then you can go ahead and change it. There's a couple different options, but I like this one the best.
Great, thank you. Is there a limit on number of drill downs?
So I'm not 100% sure on that one. I believe that you could have, as long as you have your hierarchy built. So I could have added it, like as I said in my example, you know, like you would have year, quarter, month. So then you could drill down from year to quarter to month. So as long as in the hierarchy, I think it should be fine.
Great. If the Excel sheet is in SharePoint is updated, will it refresh with new data automatically?
That's a great question. And that you actually have to configure in the Power BI online service. So if we look down here at my data sets and we look at schedule a refresh, and looks like I need to edit my credentials. And so for, if you have an Office 365 account, you'll want to use this OAuth. And we can go ahead and sign in.
And while you're doing that, so we did get a question about how to just get started in general. So we will be sending out an email to everyone on today's call that will include the link to the recording and also some links to Microsoft's page that has some very valuable resources that everyone can check out.
Okay, and so you'll see once I'm connected, I can schedule a refresh, and depending, I think a free user account can do it like once a day, and a pro account gets more options. But depending on where, so this one's pretty easy since it's Office 365 and I can add my credentials. If it was something stored on premise, you would have to work on configuring a gateway.
Okay, great. I'm going to try to get to all of these. Someone has the question, we are not able to use online Power BI service because of security limitations. How does the Power BI report server compare to the online service?
So that's a great question. We can definitely follow up more on that. It's pretty, it definitely has a lot of the same features. You just don't have some of the options like sharing to SharePoint Online, but we can definitely send you some additional information on how those compare.
Okay, great. Do consumers of the report need the license? I think you kind of answered this in the beginning, but can you reiterate that answer?
Yeah, so unfortunately you have to share these reports, you will need a Power BI Pro license. Like I said, there's a couple other options if you were to send them the PDF for the PowerPoint version, or if you were to send them the file. But to truly collaborate, you're going to need that pro account.
Okay, great. And I think you may have addressed this in the beginning as well, but just wanted to ask this again. Besides Excel, what other data sources can you use with Power BI?
So if you have the desktop application, you can actually see, this is my cheat way to see them all. If you go to get data, you can see there's a wide range. And I mean, they're constantly updating, as well as, you know, you could make custom ones. But you get Salesforce, Facebook, Dynamics, all of the Azure things. You can get SAP, and then a whole host of online services.
That's great to see. Okay, let's see. Sorry, they are coming in really fast. Can Power BI reports be embedded in a SharePoint 2013 page?
So not easily. I think you can do the Power BI embedded service, and then it would be a custom implementation, because right now from here, the only option you get is to do online, or the publish the web, which is the available to everyone. So I think you could possibly do the embedded one, but it would just take a little additional work.
Okay. What other skill sets would be required to master Power BI? For example, Excel, SQL.
So the good thing is, I mean, you saw how easy it was. Is I loaded an Excel file, and then as I start clicking, it starts building the reports. It's possible if you wanted to have a more complex, like if you're connecting to, you know, SQL data tables or something like that, you would want to have some of those additional skills. But the great thing about exporting the Power BI report as a template is you could have one person kind of build your data set and do all of that connection, and then you could have all of your business analysts go in and build what reports they need, and then from then you just need a basic understanding of some of the Microsoft Office suite.
Okay, great. This is a great question. How do you restrict the data for users based on groups?
So they do offer row level security, and that is down in the data section. You can actually do manages roles, and it's a little too complicated to get right into now, but they do have that option to do row level security, which makes it a great option.
Okay, I think we addressed most of the questions. We are 4 minutes over, so we will end there. If we did not answer your question, we will be following up with you personally. Thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. Thank you, Becca. Lots of great information. I know we didn't have enough time to cover everything, but I hope you guys got a lot out of today's presentation. We will be sending out the link to everyone on today's call, as well as some additional resources for you all to get started with Power BI. And if you need any help, just let us know. Thank you, Becca, for the great presentation. And everyone, have a great day, and we will see you next month.